Jesus taught about how to manage our wealth as well as how to manage our worry. We're discussing worry in an upcoming lesson, but let's look at what Jesus says about money in Matthew 6, verse 24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Jesus did not say, no one should serve two masters. He did say, no one can serve two masters. He's saying it's impossible. The two masters Jesus is referring to are God and money. One author helps us understand the original Greek a bit better. The Greek word translated money is mammon, which is actually a Hebrew phrase meaning that in which one trusts. That in which one trusts is one's security. You cannot trust both God and a material source of security. Ultimately, one's trust can only be placed in one of those two options. The original word Jesus used in the Greek for serve means to be enslaved to. So he's saying we are slaves to either money, putting our trust in something temporary and insecure, or we're slaves to God, putting our trust in the loving, eternal creator and owner of everything. Before Jesus made that statement, he talked about our heart. Our heart is behind who and how we serve. Let's read Matthew 6, verses 19 to 21. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Let's flip that around. Where your heart is, there your treasure will be also. What's the difference? The first statement says our heart follows our money. The second statement says that our money follows our heart. Obviously, when we become adults, there are a lot of places our money needs to go. Besides our tithe, we need to pay mortgage or rent, bills, food, transportation, and much more. The heart comes into play when we consider what kind of house, food, or transportation we're paying for. Our heart is also shown by whether we give generously to others and whether we give our tithe and offering out of what we get first or what's left over. When our heart is centered on giving God glory, we'll give to God and others more generously. We'll choose to give money to things that build God's kingdom first, not after we've paid for everything that we want for ourselves. We consider this to be the way we fight the war for the salvation of souls. In the early days of the Salvation Army, George Scott Railton said that the money to support the work of the Salvation Army should come from its own people and those who attend its meetings. So offering envelopes were created. In 1880, Major George Fibbin Ewens, the first editor of our magazine The War Cry, called those envelopes cartridges. He was a rifleman and loved the Army symbolism. He compared the gifts of money given to the Salvation Army to shots fired at the devil. He was the first one to say that soldiers fire cartridges in this way. The term stuck. Firing a cartridge continues to mean giving our tithe and offerings to God through the Salvation Army. Here's an interesting story related to firing a cartridge. In 1947, Hitler's representatives looked into the Salvation Army to see if it was a threat. They thought they found proof that it was an underground military organization because they found cash books with lists of numbers for cartridges. They thought this meant the Salvation Army members were required to give money so this army could buy ammunition. Little did they know, it was spiritual ammunition for the salvation of souls. One way soldiers help in the effort towards reaching others for Jesus is through world services and self-denial. In 1886, an officer named Major John Carleton was in a meeting led by General William Booth. The general asked everybody to write down an amount they'd give to support the Army's missionary work. Major Carleton didn't have much, But he wrote that he would go without his desserts for a whole year so that he can give a larger amount. This led Booth to encourage Salvationists to deny themselves something for 1 week and give the money they saved. This meant everyone could give something. This became known as the International Self-Denial Fund. World Services and self-denial are actually different names for the same thing, raising money for the Salvation Army around the world. The term self-denial focuses our attention on what we do to raise the money. The term World Services focuses our attention on how the money is used. Every corps has a World Services goal, and all soldiers are encouraged to give towards it weekly. There is often a special time of the year where there is a focus on this fund in each corps. All money raised is sent to international headquarters in London. Then, it's shared around the world to meet a wide range of needs. In the United States, we have a Salvation Army World Service Office, known as SAWSO, that supports programs around the world as well.